The maintenance bay doors of orbital station Kepler 7 hissed open at exactly midnight, station time. Maya Chen stepped through the entrance, her toolbox heavy in her right hand, her breath forming small clouds in the cold air of the docking ring. She had been hired just yesterday, desperate for work after her transport ship had broken down, and left her stranded here among the stars. The station hummed with its usual nighttime rhythm. Somewhere deep in its metal bones, life support systems cycled air and water through miles of pipes. The artificial gravity generators maintained their constant pull. Everything seemed normal, except for the silence that hung over the maintenance bay like a shroud. Maya had expected to find her new supervisor waiting for her. The message had been clear. Report to Bay 7 at midnight. Ask for Marcus Torres. He would show her the ropes, teach her the quirks of this particular station's systems. Instead, she found shadows and the soft blue glow of diagnostic screens. She walked deeper into the bay, her footsteps echoing off the high ceiling. Tools hung in perfect rows along the walls. Half-assembled machinery sat on workbenches, waiting for hands to complete them. Everything spoke of order and precision, but also of abandonment. Then she heard it. A sound so soft she almost missed it beneath the station's mechanical breathing. It was crying. Not the harsh, angry crying of an adult, but the tired, confused whimper of a child. Maya followed the sound past a row of shuttlecraft in various states of repair. Behind the largest one, tucked into a corner where the overhead lights barely reached, she found them. A man sat on the floor, his back against the cold metal wall. His coveralls bore the name M. Torres on the chest pocket. He was perhaps 35, with calloused hands and the lean build of someone who worked with machinery for a living. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and stubble covered his jaw. In his arms he cradled a small girl, maybe 4 years old, with the same dark hair and olive skin. The child's face was buried in his chest, her small body shaking with exhausted sobs. The man rocked her gently, murmuring words Maya couldn't quite hear. His own eyes were red-rimmed, and tear tracks marked his cheeks. Maya froze, unsure whether to announce herself or slip away. This was clearly a private moment of grief, something she had no right to intrude upon, but she had nowhere else to go. This job was her only chance to earn enough credits to repair her ship and continue her journey. Before she could decide, Marcus looked up. Their eyes met across the dimly lit space. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Marcus cleared his throat, his voice rough. "You must be the new tech," he said. "Maya Chen?" She nodded, setting down her toolbox as quietly as possible. "I'm sorry. I can come back later if—" "No." He shook his head, adjusting his hold on the child. "No, you're here now. Might as well—" He trailed off, looking down at the girl in his arms. "This is Luna, my daughter." The name made Maya's chest tighten. Luna. Moonchild. Even here, in the depths of space, humans named their children after celestial bodies they might never see with their own eyes. "Hello, Luna," Maya said softly, crouching down to be at their level. The child peeked at her with one dark eye before hiding again. Marcus attempted a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "She's not usually here. But her mother—" He stopped, swallowed hard. "There was an accident on the mining platform today, decompression in Section C. Elena was—" He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Maya had seen enough of space to know what rapid decompression did to a human body. The kindest thing was that it was quick. "I'm so sorry," Maya whispered. The words felt inadequate, but what else could she say? She was a stranger, hired to fix machines, not broken hearts. Marcus nodded, still rocking Luna. "The station daycare is closed at night. I couldn't leave her alone. Couldn't miss work either. Bills don't stop just because—" He gestured helplessly. Maya understood. Space stations ran on credits and contracts. Miss too many shifts, and you'd find yourself on the next transport out, assuming you could afford passage. It was a harsh reality of frontier life. "What needs doing tonight?" she asked, surprising herself with the question. She had expected to spend her first shift learning procedures, not diving into actual work. Marcus looked grateful for the change of subject. "Shuttle 4 needs a complete engine rebuild. 3's got a faulty nav system, and the station administrator's personal craft has been making strange noises." He paused. "I can show you once Luna falls asleep. She's been fighting it for hours." Maya settled herself on the floor, maintaining a respectful distance. "I can wait. Maybe I could start with something quiet? Check inventory or review the maintenance logs. The terminal's over there." Marcus pointed with his chin toward a workstation. "Password is Eclipse 2847. All the logs from the past month are in the main folder." Maya stood and made her way to the terminal, conscious of every sound her boots made on the metal floor. As she logged in, she could hear Marcus humming something low and melodious. It wasn't any song she recognized, but it had the quality of a lullaby passed down through generations. The maintenance logs painted a picture of a well-run operation. Marcus kept meticulous records. Every repair was documented with precision. Every part was accounted for. She could see the pride he took in his work, even in something as simple as a diagnostic report. But as she scrolled through the recent entries, she noticed changes. In the past week, the handwriting in the manual logs had become shaky. Some entries were incomplete. Today's log was blank except for a single line. "Elena Torres, Shift Supervisor, Mining Platform C, Time of Death, 0800. Maya's throat tightened. She glanced back at Marcus and Luna. The child's sobs had quieted to hiccups. Her father kept rocking her, his movements automatic, like a machine running on muscle memory alone. The terminal beeped softly, indicating a new message. Maya opened it, expecting work orders or shift changes. Instead, she found a notice from station administration. "Marcus Torres, your compassionate leave request has been denied. Standard bereavement period is 24 hours for non-executive personnel. Please report for regular shift or face termination." The coldness of it made Maya's hands clench. 24 hours to grieve a spouse? 24 hours to figure out how to care for a child alone? 24 hours to reconstruct an entire life? She deleted the message before Marcus could see it. Let him think he had a few more hours of peace. She could handle whatever came through tonight. Time passed in the quiet bay. Maya familiarized herself with the station's systems, impressed by the organization despite the circumstances. Everything had its place, every procedure its checklist. It spoke of a mind that found comfort in order, that fought chaos with methodology. Around 1 in the morning, Luna finally succumbed to exhaustion. Her breathing evened out, and her grip on her father's coveralls loosened. Marcus waited another 10 minutes to be sure, then carefully stood, cradling her against his chest. "There's a cot in the break room," he whispered. "I set it up earlier, hoping—" Maya followed as he carried Luna to a small room off the main bay. A narrow cot sat against one wall, made up with a colorful blanket that looked hand-knitted. Marcus laid his daughter down with infinite gentleness, tucking the blanket around her small form. She stirred slightly, but didn't wake. For a moment, they both stood watching her sleep. In the soft light from the corridor, Luna looked peaceful. Whatever dreams filled her head had taken her away from the harsh reality of loss. "She doesn't understand yet," Marcus said quietly. "Keeps asking when Mommy's coming home from work." His voice cracked on the last word. Maya touched his shoulder lightly. "Children are resilient, and she has you." He laughed, but it was a broken sound. "I fix machines, not—" He gestured helplessly. Elena was the one who knew about hair ribbons and favorite foods and which stuffed animal helps with nightmares. I don't even know what size shoes she wears. You'll learn, Maya said. Humans always do. We adapt. It's what makes us different from machines. Marcus looked at her then, really looked at her. You sound like you know something about adapting. Maya shrugged. Orphan. Grew up in the Jupiter colonies. Learned early that you either adapt or you don't survive. She paused. But you have something I didn't. You have each other. They returned to the main bay, and Marcus began showing her the various systems. His movements were automatic, professional, but she could see the effort it took to focus. Several times he stopped mid-explanation, staring at nothing before shaking himself and continuing. This is Shuttle 4, he said, leading her to a battered craft that had seen better days. Mining shuttle. Came in yesterday with complete engine failure. Pilot managed to limp here on auxiliary power, but barely. Maya examined the engine compartment, noting the scorch marks and melted components. Plasma injection malfunction? Good eye. For the first time, Marcus showed a hint of professional interest. Most people would assume simple overheating, but look here. He pointed to a specific pattern of damage. Classic cascade failure. Starts in the injection system, spreads to the cooling array, then everything goes to hell. They worked in companionable silence for a while, removing damaged components and cataloging what would need replacement. It was easier than talking, easier than acknowledging the empty space where another person should be. Elena was supposed to be on a different shift, Marcus said suddenly, his hands still moving through the familiar motions of disassembly. She traded with someone who needed to attend their kid's school program, always doing things like that, always helping. Maya listened without comment, recognizing the need to speak memories aloud before they faded. We met right here, actually, 6 years ago. She came in with a broken atmospheric suit, demanding to know why maintenance had signed off on faulty equipment. I showed her the signature on the maintenance log. It was hers. She'd been so tired she'd signed off on her own suit without checking it. He almost smiled. She was furious at herself. I offered to fix it for free if she'd have coffee with me. And she said yes. She said I'd better be buying real coffee, not the synthetic stuff. This time, the smile reached his eyes just for a moment. Cost me a week's wages to get real beans shipped in, but it was worth it. They continued working, and Marcus continued talking. Stories spilled out between bolt removals and diagnostic checks. How Elena had insisted on a traditional Earth wedding, even though neither of them had ever set foot on humanity's birth world. How she'd painted their quarters to look like a sunset sky. How she'd sung to Luna every night, the same songs her own mother had sung in the mining colonies of Mars. She was pregnant again, he said quietly, hands stilling on a particularly stubborn bolt. Just found out last week. We were going to tell Luna she'd be a big sister. His voice broke completely then. Maya took the wrench from his shaking hands. Sit. I've got this. He didn't argue, sliding down to sit on the floor, head in his hands. Maya continued the work, giving him space to grieve while keeping her hands busy. She'd learned long ago that sometimes the kindest thing you could do was simply be present, to witness someone's pain without trying to fix it. The station's night cycle continued around them. Somewhere in the distance, Maya could hear the arrival of a cargo ship, the rumble of its engines transmitted through the station's superstructure. Life went on. It always did. That was both the curse and the blessing of existence. I don't know how to do this, Marcus said eventually. How to be everything she needs. Elena handled the school enrollment, the medical appointments, the play dates with other station kids. I don't even know the names of her friends. You'll learn their names, Maya said, loosening the last bolt holding the damaged injection system in place. You'll make mistakes. Forget important things. Put her shoes on the wrong feet. Give her breakfast food for dinner, but you'll figure it out. How can you be so sure? Maya set down her tools and turned to face him. Because humans are the most adaptable species in the known galaxy. We've colonized worlds that should have killed us. We've survived disasters that would have ended other civilizations. We take impossible situations and make them work through sheer stubborn will. She paused. And because that little girl in there needs you to figure it out. That's the most powerful motivator in the universe. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, squaring his shoulders. You're right. Elena would kick my ass if she saw me falling apart like this. He picked up a diagnostic scanner. Come on, let me show you the nav system problems on Shuttle 3. Tricky bastard's been giving me headaches for a week. They moved to the next shuttle, and the work continued. But something had shifted. The desperate edge to Marcus's grief had blunted slightly, replaced by something that might eventually become determination. He taught Maya the quirks of the station's equipment, the shortcuts and workarounds accumulated over years of experience. She absorbed it all, filing away both the technical knowledge and the deeper lesson about human resilience. Around 3 in the morning, Luna woke crying for her mother. Marcus dropped everything, rushing to the break room. Maya followed, unsure how to help but unwilling to stand by and do nothing. The child was sitting up on the cot, blanket clutched to her chest, tears streaming down her face. Want Mama? Where's Mama? Marcus gathered her into his arms. I know, baby, I know. Daddy's here. Don't want Daddy. Want Mama. Luna pushed against him, small fists hitting his chest. The rejection clearly hurt, but Marcus didn't let go. He just held her gently, absorbing her anger and grief. I know, Luna. I miss her, too. Maya moved quietly to the small refrigerator in the corner. She found juice boxes and some crackers, simple things that might provide distraction if not comfort. She offered them to Marcus, who nodded gratefully. Hey, Luna, he said softly. Look what Maya found. Apple juice, your favorite. The child's sobs slowed slightly. She peeked at the juice box through tear-clumped lashes. Mama gets the kind with the spaceship on it. That's right, Marcus said, showing her the cartoon spaceship on the package. She always remembers the kind you like. It was such a small thing, but it seemed to calm Luna. She accepted the juice, drinking between hiccuping breaths. Maya sat nearby, close enough to help but not so close as to intrude. Tell me about your mama, Maya said gently. What's your favorite thing about her? Luna looked suspicious at first, but the question seemed to distract her from her immediate distress. She makes pancakes with faces, happy ones with berries. That sounds wonderful. What else? As Luna began to list her mother's attributes in the rambling way of 4-year-olds, Maya caught Marcus's grateful look. She understood. Sometimes children needed to speak their truth to someone who wasn't drowning in the same grief. She reads stories with voices, Luna continued, juice box temporarily forgotten. The monster voice is scary but not too scary, and she knows all the words to the star song. The star song? Luna nodded solemnly. For bedtime. About the stars watching over us. Marcus's voice was rough when he spoke. I know that one too. Mama taught it to me. He began to hum, the same melody Maya had heard earlier. Luna leaned against him, her anger forgotten for the moment. You don't sound like Mama. No, Marcus agreed, but I'm trying. They sat together in the break room, Marcus humming the star song while Luna finished her juice. Eventually, the child's eyes grew heavy again. This time, when Marcus tucked her in, she grabbed his hand. Don't go, she whispered. I'll be right outside, he promised. Just in the big room with all the shuttles. You can call if you need me. Promise? Promise. Back in the maintenance bay, they returned to work. The night was more than half over, and there was still much to do. But the rhythm had changed. Where before there had been desperate motion, now there was purposeful action. She'll need stability, Marcus said as they worked on the nav system. Routine, Kids need that, right? Same breakfast time, same bedtime, same... He paused, overwhelmed by the enormity of it all. Start small, Maya suggested. Pick one routine and stick to it. Add others as you go. You don't have to figure out everything tonight. He nodded, focusing on the circuit board in front of him. Elena had this whole system. Color-coded calendar, meal plans for the week, emergency contacts for everything. I never paid attention, figured she had it handled. Do you have access to her files, her personal terminal? Marcus's hands stilled. Yes. I just haven't been able to look. Too much are in there, you know? When you're ready, it might help. She left you a roadmap, even if she didn't mean to. They worked steadily through the remaining hours of the shift. Maya learned the peculiarities of the station's systems, while Marcus seemed to find solace in the familiar routines of maintenance work. Several times they checked on Luna, who slept fitfully but stayed asleep. As the station's lights began to brighten, signaling the approach of the day cycle, other workers started arriving. Word had clearly spread about Elena's death. People stopped by to offer condolences, their faces showing the awkward sympathy of those who don't know what to say. Marcus handled them with tired grace, accepting their words without really hearing them. Maya noticed how he kept positioning himself between the well-wishers and the break room, protecting Luna's sleep even in his grief. Torres. A sharp voice cut through the murmured condolences. A woman in administrator's stripes approached, her face showing bureaucratic concern rather than genuine sympathy. I need to discuss your situation. Not here, Marcus said firmly. Not with Luna. The child is exactly what we need to discuss. Station regulations are clear about dependents in work areas. She can't be here during your shifts. Maya felt anger rise in her chest. The woman's timing was spectacularly cruel. The daycare is closed during night shift, Marcus said, his voice carefully controlled. You know this. Then you'll need to make other arrangements. Perhaps transfer to day shift. There are no openings on day shift. You know that too. The administrator's expression didn't change. Then I suggest you find alternative childcare quickly. You have until the end of the week to resolve this, or we'll need to review your employment status. She turned on her heel and left, her message delivered with all the warmth of a computer notification. Marcus stood frozen, fists clenched at his sides. Heartless vacuum-sucking... He bit off the curse, glancing toward the break room. We'll figure something out, Maya said. There must be other parents on night shift. Maybe they have arrangements. They do. Had. Elena organized an informal rotation. Parents took turns watching the kids. But with her gone, he shrugged helplessly. She was the one everyone trusted, the one who kept it all running. The weight of it all seemed to crash down on him again. Not just the loss of his wife, but the loss of the entire support system she had built and maintained. Maya could see him struggling not to break down again. Marcus? A soft voice interrupted. A woman approached carrying a covered dish, her eyes red from crying. I'm sorry, I just heard. Elena was... She stopped, unable to finish. Thank you, Keiko, Marcus managed. The woman held out the dish. I made too much food. Thought maybe... She glanced toward the break room. How is Luna? Confused. Angry. Asking for her mother. Marcus's voice was flat. My shift ends at 8. I could watch her for a few hours if you need to sleep or make arrangements. It was the first genuine offer of help they'd received, and Maya saw Marcus's shoulders drop slightly with relief. That would be... Thank you. After Keiko left, promising to return at shift change, Maya helped Marcus organize the work they'd completed. The damaged shuttle engine was fully disassembled and cataloged. The nav system problem had been identified, if not fully repaired. They'd made good progress despite everything. You did well tonight, Marcus said as they cleaned up. Better than most would have on their first shift, considering. I had a good teacher, Maya replied, even if he was distracted. Elena would have liked you, he said suddenly. She always said the best mechanics were the ones who understood that fixing machines was really about fixing problems for people, making their lives work better. His voice caught. She made my life work better. Luna chose that moment to wake up, calling for her father. Marcus went to her, and Maya began preparing the bay for the day shift. She could hear them in the break room, Luna's high voice asking when they were going home, Marcus explaining that Daddy had to finish work first. When they emerged, Luna was riding on Marcus's shoulders, her small hands tangled in his hair. She looked more alert than she had during the night, though her eyes were still puffy from crying. "Maya fix?" she asked, pointing at the shuttles. "That's right," Marcus said. "Maya's helping Daddy fix the broken shuttles." "Mama fixes too," Luna announced. "Fixes the drill machines, big ones." The present tense made both adults wince, but neither corrected her. That conversation would have to happen, but not here. Not now. Keiko arrived as promised, bringing her own daughter, a girl of about 6, who immediately engaged Luna in conversation about their respective toys. The children's resilience was both heartbreaking and hopeful. Even in grief, they found moments of normalcy. "I'll bring her home at noon," Keiko promised. "And Marcus, we'll work out something for the child care. Elena built that network, but we can maintain it. For her." After they left, Marcus slumped against a workbench. "I should go home, sleep, figure out how to explain to a 4-year-old that her mother is never coming back." "Do you have anyone to help? Family?" He shook his head. "Elena's parents died in the Mars riots. Mine are back on Earth. Haven't spoken to them in years. It was just us out here." He paused. "Just me now." Maya made a decision. "I get off at 8, too. I could, if you need help, shopping or cleaning or just someone to talk to while you figure things out." Marcus looked at her, surprise and gratitude warring on his face. "You barely know us." "I know enough," Maya said simply. "I know you're a good father trying to do right by his daughter. I know you're drowning and trying not to show it. And I know what it's like to be alone when your world falls apart." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Thank you. Thank you." The day shift workers began arriving in earnest, the maintenance bay filling with noise and activity. Maya gathered her tools, preparing to leave. She'd survived her first shift, though it had been nothing like what she'd expected. "Same time tonight?" Marcus asked. "I'll be here." As she walked back to her temporary quarters, Maya reflected on the strange turns life could take. She'd come to this station looking for nothing more than a job, a way to earn credits for repairs. Instead, she'd found a reminder of what made humanity special among all the species scattered across the galaxy. It wasn't their technology, though humans were clever engineers. It wasn't their strength, though humans were surprisingly durable. It was their capacity to form connections in the darkest moments, to reach out to strangers and offer help without expectation of reward. In her quarters, Maya sat at her small desk and began making notes. She had connections on other stations, other night shift workers who might know of childcare solutions. She knew suppliers who might help reduce the cost of real coffee beans, small comforts that could make a difference. She had skills beyond repairing engines. Humans adapted, they survived, and most importantly, they helped each other survive. Tonight, she'd return to find Marcus and Luna still grieving, still struggling, but they'd be a day further from the raw wound of loss and a day closer to whatever new normal awaited them, and Maya would be there, ready to help them navigate the journey. Because that's what humans did. In the vast, cold expanse of space, they created warmth. In the face of regulations and bureaucracy, they found workarounds. In the depths of grief, they discovered strength they didn't know they possessed. The station continued its rotation. Another day beginning in the endless cycle of space habitation. But for 3 humans, a grieving mechanic, an orphaned girl, and a traveling repair tech, the universe had shifted slightly. Orbits had been altered, trajectories changed, and in that change lay the seed of hope. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Luna would ask for her mother again. Marcus would struggle with tasks Elena had made look effortless. The administrator would demand compliance with regulations that made no allowance for human need. But tonight had proven something important. Even in the darkest hours, humans found ways to light each other's paths. Even when the universe seemed cold and uncaring, they created pockets of warmth and compassion. Maya lay down to sleep, setting her alarm for another midnight shift. Outside her small window, the stars continued their ancient dance, indifferent to human suffering. But humans had never needed the universe to care. They had each other, and that had always been enough. In the maintenance bay, Marcus would be finishing his paperwork, preparing handover notes for the day shift. In a station apartment, Luna would be playing with a new friend, temporarily distracted from her grief. Across the station, others would be living their own stories of loss and hope, struggle and survival. This was humanity's strength, not in avoiding tragedy, but in facing it together. Not in having all the answers, but in helping each other find them. Not in being unbreakable, but in picking up each other's pieces. The midnight shift would come again, bringing its own challenges and small victories. And Maya would be there, ready to fix what could be fixed and offer presents for what couldn't. Because sometimes the most important repair wasn't to a machine, but to the faith that tomorrow could be better than today. In space, humans had learned to create their own gravity, their own air, their own light. But most importantly, they'd learned to create their own hope, one connection at a time, one act of kindness building on another until even the vastest darkness couldn't extinguish their collective light. The story of Marcus, Luna, and Maya was just beginning. There would be tears and laughter, setbacks and breakthroughs. But whatever came, they would face it as humans always had. Together, adapting, surviving, and ultimately thriving against all odds. Because that's what humans did. They endured. They helped. They hoped. And in the end, that was enough. 3 weeks had passed since Maya first walked into Maintenance Bay 7. The routines of the night shift had become familiar, almost comforting in their predictability. She arrived each midnight to find Marcus already there, usually with Luna asleep on the break room cot. The other night shift parents had indeed rallied, creating a new child care rotation that honored Elena's memory while adapting to her absence. Tonight was different. Maya knew something was wrong the moment she entered the bay. Marcus stood at his workbench, but his usual methodical movements were replaced by sharp, angry gestures. Tools clattered more than necessary. When he acknowledged her arrival, his nod was curt, his jaw clenched. Luna sat in the corner, unusually quiet, coloring with fierce concentration. Her drawings had changed over the weeks. Where once there had been bright suns and smiling figures, now there were lots of black scribbles and lone stick figures. "Bad day?" Maya asked carefully, setting down her gear. "Administrator Yong paid a visit," Marcus said, not looking up from the manifold he was attacking with unnecessary force. "Apparently, our productivity is down 15% from last quarter." Maya frowned. "Last quarter when Elena was alive? Yes." He slammed the wrench down. "She had the audacity to suggest I might benefit from grief counseling, as if talking to some station shrink is going to magically make me function at peak efficiency." "Maybe it would help," Maya suggested gently. Marcus whirled on her, eyes flashing. "Help? You think some bureaucrat with a psychology degree can help? Can they bring Elena back? Can they explain to Luna why she draws pictures of Mama floating in space?" His voice cracked on the last words. Luna looked up from her coloring, her dark eyes too knowing for a 4-year-old. "Daddy's mad," she announced matter-of-factly. "I'm not mad, baby. I'm just—" Marcus deflated, the anger draining as quickly as it had risen. "I'm just tired." It had been like this for a week now. The initial numbness of grief had given way to anger, and Marcus's temper had become unpredictable. Maya had researched the stages of grief, trying to understand, trying to help, but reading about it and living with it were vastly different things. "Why don't you take a break?" Maya suggested. "I can handle the priority repairs tonight." "I don't need—" Marcus started, then stopped. He looked at Luna, at her careful coloring, at the way she kept glancing at him as if afraid he might explode. "Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll— Luna, want to help me check the tool inventory?" The little girl brightened slightly. "Can I use the scanner?" "Sure, baby. You can scan, I'll count." They moved off together, leaving Maya to tackle the night's work orders. She'd grown comfortable with the station systems, could diagnose problems almost as quickly as Marcus now. But technical skill couldn't fix the growing tension in the bay. As she worked on a damaged environmental control unit, Maya could hear Marcus and Luna in the supply room. The child's high voice counted tools while Marcus's deeper tone offered encouragement. These moments of normalcy were precious, but increasingly rare. The comm unit on the wall crackled to life. "Maintenance Bay 7, this is Mining Platform C. We have a situation." Maya's blood chilled. Platform C, where Elena had died. Marcus appeared in the doorway, his face pale. "This is Torres. What's the situation?" "We've got a pressure leak in Section B. Nothing critical yet, but it's adjacent to—" The voice paused. "To the sealed area. We need someone who knows these systems." The sealed area. Section C, where the decompression had happened, where Elena and 12 others had died. It had been sealed off rather than repaired, a tomb floating in space. "I'll prep a shuttle," Marcus said, his voice flat. "Marcus, no." Maya moved to intercept him. "Send someone else. You don't need to—" "I'm the senior maintenance supervisor, it's my job." He moved past her, already grabbing an environmental suit from the rack. "Then I'm coming with you." He stopped, turned to look at her. "You don't have clearance for platform work. So clear me. You need backup and you know it." They stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, Marcus nodded. "Keiko can watch Luna. Suit up." 20 minutes later, they were in Shuttle 3, heading toward the mining platform. Maya could see the tension in Marcus's shoulders, the white-knuckle grip he had on the controls. The platform grew larger in the viewport, its industrial bulk marred by the sealed section that bulged like a metal scar. "First time back?" Maya asked quietly. "Yes." The word was clipped, final. They docked in silence. The platform's maintenance chief, an older man named Chen, met them at the airlock. His eyes widened when he saw Marcus. "Torres, I didn't expect— I called for maintenance, but I didn't think you'd—" "Where's the leak?" Marcus cut him off. Chen led them through the platform's corridors. Everything here was functional, utilitarian. No attempt at comfort like on the main station. This was a place for work, for extracting valuable minerals from the asteroids the platform processed. They could hear the leak before they saw it, a high whistling that made everyone nervous in space. The affected section was cordoned off, emergency barriers ready to drop if the leak worsened. "Started about an hour ago," Chen explained. "Pressure's dropping slowly but steadily. We've evacuated the adjacent sections as a precaution." Marcus was already scanning the wall with his diagnostic tools. "Microfracture in the hull plating, probably stress damage from—" He paused. "From the decompression event. The shockwave weakened the surrounding structure." Maya watched him work, saw the moment he realized what this meant. If the original decompression had weakened other sections, there could be more failures, more deaths. The platform might need massive repairs or even evacuation. "We can patch it," Marcus said, his professional mask firmly in place. "Maya, I need you to prep the molecular sealant. Chen, kill the air circulation in this section. We need a stable environment for the patch to set." They worked with practiced efficiency. Maya had never seen Marcus more focused, more precise. It was as if being here, facing the thing that had taken Elena, had crystallized something in him. The anger was still there, but channeled now into fierce determination. The patch took 2 hours to complete. 2 hours of careful work, while that whistling sound reminded them all how fragile their existence was out here. When the sealant finally cured and the leak stopped, everyone exhaled in relief. "This is temporary," Marcus told Chen. "You need a full structural survey of every section adjacent to the sealed area. There could be more weak points." Chen nodded, making notes. "I'll file the request, though getting corporate to approve that kind of expense. Then make them understand it's that, or lose the entire platform." Marcus's voice was hard. "I'll file a supporting report. Technical assessment makes it clear. This is critical." They were preparing to leave when Chen cleared his throat awkwardly. "Torres, about Elena. I was on duty that day. I wanted to say, if I'd caught it sooner, if the sensors had—" "Don't." Marcus held up a hand. "I've run that simulation 1,000 times. Earlier detection, faster response, different duty roster. It doesn't change anything. Elena's gone." The trip back to the station was quiet. Maya piloted, letting Marcus stare out at the stars. She could almost see the thoughts churning behind his eyes. "They knew," he said suddenly. "The company. They knew the platform had structural vulnerabilities. There were reports, requests for upgrades, all denied because the profit margins were good enough as is." His hands clenched. Elena died for their profit margins. Maya didn't know what to say. The ugly truth of corporate space operations was something everyone knew but rarely spoke about. Safety cost money. Money affected profits. Profits determined everything. "What are you going to do?" she asked finally. "My job," Marcus said bitterly. "Keep things running. Keep people safe as best I can within the constraints they give me. What else can I do? I have Luna to think about." Back at the station, they found Luna asleep in Keiko's quarters. The other woman greeted them with relieved smiles. "She was an angel. Ate all her dinner. Helped me with my daughter's homework. Only asked for Mama twice." The casual statement hit Marcus like a physical blow. Only twice. As if that was progress. As if a 4-year-old learning not to ask for her dead mother was something to celebrate. They carried Luna back to the maintenance bay. She stirred but didn't wake, mumbling something about stars and Mama. Marcus's face was stone as he settled her on the break room cot. "I need to work on that report," he said, moving to the terminal. Maya recognized the dismissal but didn't leave. Instead, she began organizing the tools they'd used, cleaning and checking each one. It was busy work, but it kept her nearby in case he needed something. Anything. An hour passed. Marcus typed with fierce concentration, occasionally pulling up technical diagrams and sensor logs. Maya could see him building a case, documenting every flaw and vulnerability in the platform's structure. "You know they won't listen," she said quietly. "I know." He didn't stop typing. "So why?" "Because I need to do something." The words exploded out of him. "I couldn't save her, couldn't protect her. But maybe I can protect the next person. Maybe I can prevent another Luna from losing—" He stopped, shoulders shaking. Maya moved closer but didn't touch him. She'd learned he needed space when the grief hit like this. She trusted them, he continued more quietly. Elena believed the company when they said safety was the priority. She'd report problems, file complaints, and trust the system to work. Even when nothing changed, she believed they'd fix things eventually. And you don't? Marcus laughed, a harsh sound. I fix their machines. I know exactly how much they're willing to spend on maintenance versus how much they should spend. Every cut corner, every deferred repair, every make it last another cycle order. I never thought it would cost. He trailed off, staring at the screen filled with technical data and carefully worded accusations that would likely be filed away and forgotten. Luna's voice from the break room interrupted them. Daddy? Marcus was moving before the word finished, Maya close behind. They found Luna sitting up, tears streaming down her face. Bad dream? Marcus asked, gathering her close. Mama was floating, Luna whispered. She was trying to come home, but she kept floating away. I tried to catch her, but my arms were too short. Marcus closed his eyes, holding his daughter tighter. It was just a dream, baby. Just a dream. But she is floating, isn't she? In heaven with the stars? The question hung in the air. Maya watched Marcus struggle with it, trying to find words that were honest but not cruel, comforting but not false. Yes, he said finally. Mama's with the stars now. But she's not floating away. She's watching over you always. Even if we can't see her. Like the Star Song says? Exactly like the Star Song says. Luna seemed to consider this. Will you sing it? Marcus glanced at Maya, almost apologetic, but began the lullaby. His voice was rough, nothing like what Elena's must have been, but Luna didn't seem to care. She curled against his chest, thumb in her mouth, listening to the familiar melody. Stars above and stars below, watching everywhere you go, Marcus sang softly. In the ship or on the ground, starlight keeps you safe and sound. It was an old song, probably dating back to the first generation of space-born children. Simple words to ease the fear of vast, dark spaces. But hearing it here, in this sterile maintenance bay, it took on new meaning. When Luna finally drifted back to sleep, Marcus carefully laid her down and returned to the main bay. Maya found him standing at the viewport, looking out at the mining platform in the distance. I used to think space was beautiful, he said. The frontier of human achievement, proof that we could adapt to anything, survive anywhere. He pressed his palm against the transparent steel. Now I just see all the ways it can kill us. That's the grief talking, Maya said. Is it? Or is it clarity? He turned to her. We're so proud of ourselves, humans in space, conquering the galaxy. But we're just meat and bone in metal cans, pretending the universe cares about our survival. The universe doesn't care, Maya agreed. That's exactly why what we do matters. He frowned at her. What? The universe doesn't care, so we have to care for each other. No cosmic force is going to keep us safe, so we keep each other safe. No grand design gives our lives meaning, so we create meaning ourselves. She moved to stand beside him. Yes, space can kill us, but we're still here. Still building, still growing, still caring for our children and each other despite it all. Elena's still dead. Yes. And that's horrible and unfair, and it shouldn't have happened. But Luna's still alive. You're still alive. And tomorrow you'll fix things that keep other people alive, not because the universe demands it, but because you choose to. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When did you get so philosophical? Orphan, remember? You either find meaning or you find despair. I chose meaning. They stood together, watching stars that had burned for billions of years before humans existed and would burn for billions more after they were gone. But between those vast scales of time, humans carved out their small moments of love and loss, joy and sorrow. The report won't change anything, Marcus said eventually. Probably not. But you'll have tried, And maybe someday enough reports will pile up that someone has to listen. Ever the optimist. Ever the human, Maya corrected. The rest of the shift passed quietly. Marcus finished his report, documenting everything with exhaustive detail. Maya completed the routine maintenance tasks, keeping the station running smoothly. Luna slept, her dreams hopefully peaceful. As the day shift arrived, Maya noticed something different about Marcus. The anger was still there, might always be there. But it had focus now. Purpose, even if that purpose was tilting at corporate windmills. "Same time tonight?" she asked, as had become their ritual. "Actually," Marcus said, then paused. "Actually, I was wondering, Luna and I usually eat dinner around 6. Nothing fancy, just, would you want to join us? She keeps asking when Miss Maya is coming to see our quarters." It was the first time he'd invited her into their personal space. Maya understood the significance of it. "I'd like that," she said. That evening, Maya arrived at their quarters with a small toy she'd picked up from the station shop. Nothing expensive, just a little plush star that glowed softly when squeezed. Luna's delight was worth 10 times the price. Their quarters were exactly what Maya had expected. Clearly divided between Marcus's practical touches and Elena's warmth. One wall was painted like a sunset, just as Marcus had described. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator. A half-finished knitting project sat on a side table, needles still marking the last row Elena had completed. "I haven't," Marcus gestured at the knitting. "I can't bring myself to move it, or finish it. I don't even know what she was making." "Looks like a blanket," Maya said, examining the soft yellow yarn. "Baby blanket from the size." Marcus's face went carefully blank. "Right, that makes sense." Luna tugged on Maya's hand. "Come see my room. Daddy fixed my starlight." The child's room was a small miracle of compressed space living. Every surface served double duty: storage and play space, learning center, and comfort zone. The starlight was a clever projection system that turned the ceiling into a slowly rotating star field. "Daddy made it work again," Luna announced proudly. "It was broken and made scary shadows, but now it makes pretty stars." "Your daddy's good at fixing things," Maya agreed. "He fixes everything except—" Luna trailed off, her 4-year-old mind catching up with her words. "He says some things can't be fixed, like Mama being gone." "That's true. Some things can't be fixed, but we can build new things alongside the broken parts." Luna considered this with the seriousness only small children could manage. "Like building blocks? When one tower falls, you build a different one?" "Exactly like that." Dinner was simple but good. Marcus had mastered the basic nutrition requirements, if not the art of making food appealing to small children. Luna pushed vegetables around her plate while chattering about her day with Keiko's family. "And then Yuki said her mama was teaching her to read, but I already know how to read because Mama taught me letters, and Daddy's teaching me more, and I can read Shuttle and Danger and Luna." "That's wonderful," Maya said. "Reading is very important." "Mama said reading lets you go anywhere, even when you're stuck in one place." Luna paused. "I'm stuck here, but reading doesn't take me to Mama." The silence that followed was heavy. Marcus set down his fork, that lost look creeping back into his eyes. "No," Maya said gently, "but reading can help you remember her. And someday, you can read the same book she loved and share that with her even though she's gone. Like a connection? Like a connection." After dinner, Maya helped with the dishes while Marcus got Luna ready for bed. She could hear them in the bathroom, negotiations over toothbrushing and which pajamas to wear. Normal parent-child sounds that probably felt anything but normal to Marcus. "Story?" Luna asked as they emerged. The child clean and dressed in pajamas, covered in cartoon spaceships. "One story," Marcus agreed. "Which one?" Luna went to her small bookshelf and pulled out a well-worn book. "The one about the lost star." Marcus's face tightened. Luna, how about a different one tonight? No, the Lost Star. Her small face set in stubborn lines. Maya recognized the signs of an impending battle of wills. I don't think I know that story. Would you read it to me, Luna? The child brightened, crisis averted. She climbed onto the small couch, book clutched in her hands. You sit here, Miss Maya. Daddy sits there. I read. What followed was less reading and more recitation from memory, with occasional glances at the pages. The story was simple. A little star that got separated from its constellation and had to find its way home, meeting other celestial objects along the way. And then the moon said, "You're not lost, little star. You're just taking a different path. All paths lead home eventually," Luna quoted, her voice unconsciously mimicking someone else's inflection. Elena's, Maya realized. When the story ended, Luna looked satisfied. Mama always said I was her little star. Now she's a star too. Maybe she's finding her way home like in the story. Marcus lifted his daughter, holding her close. Maybe she is, baby. Maybe she is. The bedtime ritual complete, they returned to the living area. Marcus collapsed on the couch, exhaustion written in every line of his body. That book, he said quietly. Elena read it to her every night. Started when Luna was barely old enough to understand words. I don't know how many times I heard that story. Always in the background while I was working on something or watching a holo. It's a good story. I never really listened. Not properly. Too busy, too distracted. Now I'd give anything to hear Elena read it one more time. He rubbed his face. I'm failing her, Maya. Both of them. Elena trusted me to take care of Luna if anything happened. And I can barely get through each day. You're not failing, Maya said firmly. You're grieving. You're adjusting. You're doing the best you can with an impossible situation. Luna needs more than my best. She needs stability, consistency, all the things Elena provided without effort. Without effort? Maya shook her head. Marcus, do you really think it was effortless for Elena? That she never struggled, never doubted, never felt overwhelmed? She made it look easy. Because you weren't looking closely. Too busy, too distracted, as you said. Maya softened her words with understanding. But that doesn't make you a bad partner or father. It makes you human. And now you're learning all the things Elena knew, becoming all the things Luna needs. That's not failure. That's growth. Marcus was quiet, processing. From Luna's room came the soft music of the star projection system, playing a gentle melody that cycled with the lights. Stay for coffee? Marcus asked. Real coffee? I found Elena's supplier. They sat at the small kitchen table, cups of genuine earth coffee steaming between them. It was outrageously expensive by station standards, but Maya understood the need for this small luxury, this connection to a wider universe. I've been thinking, Marcus said slowly, about what you said earlier, creating meaning because the universe won't do it for us. He turned the cup in his hands. Elena did that naturally. She saw a problem, she fixed it. Not machines, people problems. The childcare network, the supplier connections, the little celebrations she organized to make platform life bearable. She built community, Maya said. Yes, and I let her, benefited from it, but never really participated in building it myself. I fixed machines while she fixed lives. He looked up at Maya. I don't know how to fix lives, but I can't keep fixing machines while pretending the lives don't matter. So what are you going to do? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Chen will file that structural report. Corporate will ignore it. But the platform workers deserve to know the risks. Really know them. Not just the sanitized version in the safety briefings. That could cost you your job. Maybe. But staying quiet could cost lives. And I've already paid that price once. They finished their coffee in companionable silence. When Maya rose to leave, Marcus walked her to the door. "Thank you," he said. "For dinner, for Luna, for everything. I don't know how we would have managed these weeks without you." "You would have managed," Maya said. "Humans always do. But I'm glad I could help." Walking back to her quarters, Maya thought about the evening. The small domestic scenes that made up a life. Luna's chatter, Marcus's growing determination, the ghost of Elena present in every carefully placed object and lovingly painted wall. This was what humanity brought to the cold universe. Not just the ability to survive in hostile environments, but the determination to create homes, families, communities in those environments. To paint sunsets on metal walls, to sing lullabies about stars to children who might never see an unfiltered sky. To fix not just machines, but the connections between people that made survival worthwhile. In her quarters, Maya sat at her desk and began composing messages to contacts on other stations who might have resources Marcus could use, to a friend who worked in colonial law and might advise on whistleblower protections, to a supplier who might continue Elena's coffee connection at a better price. Small actions, tiny ripples in a vast universe. But humans had always changed worlds through accumulation of small actions. One fixed machine, one comforted child, one preserved tradition at a time. Outside her window, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to human struggles. But in the maintenance bay, a father would wake at midnight to continue his work, keeping others safe while learning to keep his daughter whole. A community would slowly rebuild itself around the hole left by a vibrant woman's absence. A station would continue to spin, carrying its fragile human cargo through the void, sustained by countless small acts of care and connection. This was humanity's answer to an uncaring universe. Not rage or despair, though those had their moments, but the quiet determination to create meaning, to build bonds, to fix what could be fixed and honor what couldn't. To sing lullabies about stars and paint sunsets on metal walls and share real coffee while speaking hard truths. The universe didn't care, but humans did. And in the end, that was everything. 6 months had passed since Elena Torres died in the decompression of Platform C. The mining platform itself had been evacuated 2 weeks ago. Marcus's reports, finally heeded after 3 more structural failures, proved his predictions correct. No one else had died. A victory that tasted like ashes in Marcus's mouth. Maya found him in the maintenance bay earlier than usual for the night shift. He stood before a new addition to the workspace, a small memorial plaque that read, "In memory of those who gave their lives to the stars, we carry your light forward." "The company approved it?" Maya asked, surprised. "The company knows nothing about it," Marcus replied. "The workers pooled funds. Chen organized it. Said if corporate wouldn't remember them, we would." Luna emerged from the break room, no longer the frightened child who had clung to her father 6 months ago. She moved with purpose, a small toolbox in her hands. Her toolbox, sized for children's hands but containing real tools. "Miss Maya," she called out. "Look, Daddy's teaching me to fix things. I can name all the tools and I helped fix a light in our quarters." "That's wonderful," Maya said, crouching to examine Luna's collection. Each tool was labeled with its name and a simple picture, clearly Marcus's work. "Mama used to say fixing things was important," Luna said matter-of-factly. "So I'm learning. Then I can help people like Daddy does." The ease with which she spoke of her mother marked the biggest change. The desperate grief had evolved into something else, not forgetting but integration. Elena had become part of their daily conversation, referenced without the sharp pain that once accompanied every mention. "All right, little engineer," Marcus said. "Time for you to practice your letters while the grown-ups work." Luna made a face but went to her designated corner, where a small desk held educational tablets and old-fashioned paper. She had learned to entertain herself during the long nights, another adaptation to their new reality. "How did the meeting go?" Maya asked once Luna was settled. Marcus's expression darkened. "About as expected. Corporate commended me for my proactive safety monitoring and offered me a promotion, senior maintenance supervisor for the entire sector." "That's good?" "It's a bribe. Take the promotion, stop making waves. They'd have me traveling between stations, away from Luna for weeks at a time." He shook his head. "I turned it down." Maya wasn't surprised. Over the months, she'd watched Marcus transform from a man drowning in grief to someone with sharp, clear purpose. He still fixed machines, but now he also fixed problems corporate preferred to ignore. Safety reports that couldn't be buried. Training programs that went beyond minimum requirements. A growing network of workers who shared information outside official channels. "What will you do instead?" she asked. "Chen has contacts in the independent colonies. They need experienced mechanics. The pay's less, but they actually care about keeping their people alive." He paused. "I'm taking Luna and leaving. We've already stayed too long." The words hit Maya harder than expected. 6 months of midnight shifts had created a routine she hadn't realized she'd come to depend on. Marcus and Luna had become, what? Friends? Family? Something harder to define, but no less real. "When?" she managed. 2 weeks. Just need to finish training my replacement and settle Elena's affairs." He looked at her. "You could come with us." The offer hung in the air between them. Maya thought of her own ship, finally repaired but sitting idle in the docking bay. She'd originally only stopped here for emergency repairs, never intending to stay. But intentions and reality had a way of diverging in space. "I'll think about it," she said. They worked in companionable silence for a while. The night's tasks were routine, scheduled maintenance, minor repairs, nothing that required their full attention. It left space for thought, for the weight of impending change. "Daddy," Luna called out, "how do you spell remember?" "Remember, Marcus spelled out. "What are you writing?" "A letter to Mama. Miss Keiko said even if people can't read letters, writing them helps us remember things." Marcus's hands stilled on the component he was cleaning. Maya saw him take a breath, then another. "That's a good idea, baby. What are you telling her?" "About learning tools, and about how you don't burn dinner as much anymore. And about Miss Maya being here." Luna bent back over her paper, tongue poking out in concentration. "She's doing better," Maya observed quietly. "We both are." Marcus resumed his work. "Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Just means we've learned to carry the hurt without letting it carry us." A comm alert interrupted them. "Priority message from station administration." Marcus read it, his face cycling through surprise, anger, and something that might have been satisfaction. "What is it?" Maya asked. "Administrator Yong has been recalled to corporate headquarters. Apparently someone leaked a comprehensive report on station safety violations, complete with documentation of ignored maintenance requests and correlation with worker injuries." He looked innocent. "I wonder who would do such a thing." "A terrible mystery," Maya agreed. "I suppose they'll need a new administrator. They're bringing in someone from the Mars colonies, Catherine Singh. She has a reputation for actually giving a damn about worker safety." He allowed himself a small smile. "Maybe things will change here after we leave. Change you started. Change Elena started just by being who she was. I'm just continuing her work in my own way." The shift progressed with its usual rhythms. Other workers came and went, picking up tools, dropping off completed jobs. Many stopped to chat with Luna, who had become a mascot of sorts for the night shift. The child who had lost her mother but kept smiling, kept learning, kept growing. Around 2 in the morning, an alarm sounded. Not the sharp wail of decompression or fire, but the lower tone of a medical emergency. Marcus was moving before the location was announced. "Medical emergency, Doc 7. All available personnel respond." They ran, Luna's voice calling after them to be careful. The docks were always dangerous, too many moving parts, too many opportunities for accidents. They arrived to find a crowd gathered around a fallen worker. It was Chen, the mining platform supervisor. He lay twisted on the dock floor, one leg bent at an unnatural angle. Blood pooled beneath his head. "Fell from the loading crane," someone said. "Lost his grip and dropped 20 feet. The station's medical team was already working, but Maya could see the growing pool of blood, the unnatural stillness of Chen's chest. "Is he—" Marcus couldn't finish the question. "Alive," a medic responded. "Barely. We need to get him to surgery now." They loaded Chen onto a stretcher and rushed away, leaving behind a crowd of shaken workers and a smear of blood on the deck plates. Marcus stared at the spot, fists clenched. "Safety rails," he said quietly. "I filed a report about those cranes 6 months ago. The rails don't meet standard height requirements. Easy fix. Would cost maybe 1,000 credits for all of them." "Corporate said no?" Maya guessed. "Corporate said the rails met minimum specifications when installed. Didn't matter that the specs had been updated for exactly this reason." His voice was bitter. "Another report that'll be ignored until someone dies." They returned to the maintenance bay to find Luna awake and worried. She'd heard the alarm, understood enough to be frightened. "Is everyone okay?" she asked immediately. Marcus hesitated, clearly struggling with how much truth to share with a 4-year-old. "Someone got hurt. The doctors are helping him." "Like they tried to help Mama?" The innocent question cut deep. Marcus knelt beside his daughter. "Yes, like that. Sometimes they can help, sometimes they can't. We have to wait and see." Luna nodded solemnly. "I'll add him to my letter. Maybe if Mama sees it, she can help from the stars." It was child's logic, magical thinking that would fade with age. But for now, it was comfort. And Marcus didn't contradict it. The rest of the shift passed in subdued activity. Word came that Chen had survived surgery, but remained critical. His injuries were severe. Broken spine, skull fracture, internal damage. Even if he lived, he might never walk again. As dawn approached and the day shift began arriving, Maya made her decision. "I'll come with you," she told Marcus, "to the independent colonies." He looked up from the report he was writing. Another safety violation. Another attempt to create a paper trail that might someday save lives. "You're sure?" "My ship's repaired. I could leave any time, go anywhere. But," she gestured around the bay, "this matters. What you're doing, what we're building, it matters more than just drifting." Luna, who had been pretending to sleep in the break room, appeared in the doorway. "Miss Maya's coming with us?" "Looks like it, baby." The child's face lit up. She ran to Maya, throwing small arms around her legs. "We can be a family, not the same as before, but a new kind." Over Luna's head, Marcus and Maya's eyes met. Family. It wasn't a word either had used, but Luna had the clarity of children who saw connections adults complicated. "A new kind of family," Maya agreed softly. The 2 weeks passed quickly. Marcus trained his replacement, a young woman named Park, who listened intently to his warnings about corporate negligence and the importance of documentation. Maya began researching the independent colonies, finding which ones needed mechanics, which had good schools for Luna, which offered the best chance for the life they were trying to build. Chen survived, but would never work again. The accident had cost him his mobility and his livelihood. Corporate offered a standard disability payment that wouldn't cover half his medical costs. The workers took up a collection. On their last night, the maintenance bay filled with people. Night shift and day shift workers who had rearranged their schedules to say goodbye. They brought food, stories, and small gifts for Luna. Someone had even managed to procure a cake. "We wanted to thank you," Park said, speaking for the group, "for everything you've done, the safety protocols, the training programs, the reports that finally got corporate to listen." "I just fixed things," Marcus said uncomfortably. "You fixed more than machines," someone called out. "You fixed a broken system, or at least started to." They presented him with a plaque, handmade in the station's workshop. It read, "To Marcus Torres, who taught us that fixing machines means protecting lives." Marcus's eyes were wet as he accepted it. This should have Elena's name on it. She's the one who understood that people mattered more than protocols. "Then we'll remember her too," Park said, "in every life we save with the procedures you taught us." Luna had her own goodbye ritual. She went to each person, presenting them with a drawing. Stars featured prominently, along with stick figures that she carefully explained represented different workers. Each drawing was labeled in her careful, childish handwriting, "Remember me, Luna." "So you don't forget us when we're gone," she explained seriously. The party continued past midnight, but eventually people drifted away. Lives to live, shifts to work. The eternal rhythm of station life. Finally, only Maya, Marcus, and Luna remained in the bay that had been their second home for so long. "One more thing," Marcus said. He led them to a corner of the bay where a new addition had been installed, a small garden box with carefully tended plants growing under artificial light. "Elena always wanted to start a garden here. Said it would remind people that life finds a way even in metal and vacuum." He touched one of the leaves gently. Park promised to take care of it. They stood together, looking at the green shoots reaching toward artificial suns. Such a small thing, but Maya understood its significance. Life persisting despite loss, growth in unlikely places, beauty where none was expected. "Ready?" Marcus asked. Luna took both their hands. "Ready? We're going on an adventure, right? Like the lost star in the story?" "Like the lost star," Marcus agreed. "Finding our way to a new home." They walked out of Maintenance Bay 7 for the last time, but they weren't really leaving it behind. They carried it with them. The lessons learned, the connections made, the lives changed. Elena's legacy lived on not in any single place, but in the ripples of her influence, spreading outward through every person her life had touched. Their ship waited in the docking bay, Maya's old transport now modified with a proper living space for 3. Luna raced ahead, eager to see her new room, small but her own, with a viewport that would show real stars instead of projections. "Thank you," Marcus said as they performed the pre-flight checks. "For everything. I don't know if I'd have made it without you." "You would have," Maya said. "Humans always find a way. But I'm glad I could help." They strapped in for departure. Luna chattered excitedly about the journey, about new places and new people. She still carried her mother's absence, would always carry it, but she had learned to build joy alongside grief. As the station fell away behind them, Maya thought about the title someone would write for their story someday. She came at midnight for work and found a grieving mechanic with a child in his arms. It had been true in that first moment, but the story had become so much more. It had become a story about adaptation, about finding family in unexpected places, about the importance of fixing not just machines but the systems that failed people, about carrying light forward even when the darkness seemed overwhelming. Most of all, it had become a story about what made humanity special among the stars. Not their technology or their ambitions, but their capacity to care for each other, to build gardens in maintenance bays and sing lullabies about stars, to transform grief into purpose and strangers into family. The ship's engines hummed with promise as they headed toward their new life. Behind them, a station continued its rotation, a little safer because one man had refused to let his wife's death be meaningless. Ahead lay uncertainty, but also possibility. "Tell me a story," Luna requested from her seat. "About the star who found a new home," Marcus began, his voice steady and warm. "Once upon a time, there was a little star who thought she was lost, but she met other travelers in the dark, a comet who had lost his way, and a moon who had never had a home." Maya listened, adding her own voice when the story called for the moon's perspective. Together they wove a new tale, one that belonged to all of them. Outside the viewports, the universe spread infinite and indifferent. But inside their small ship, 3 humans created their own light. They had suffered loss that couldn't be fixed, faced systems that seemed too big to change. But they had also found each other, built hope from grief, and chose to continue Elena's work of making life better for those around them. This was humanity among the stars, not conquering the universe, but creating pockets of meaning within it. Not defeating death, but choosing life in spite of it. Not finding homes, but building them, one connection at a time. The stars watched, ancient and unchanging. But below their light, humans wrote new stories. Stories of mechanics who became advocates, of orphans who found families, of children who learned that love could persist, even when the loved one was gone. Stories of coming at midnight for work and finding so much more than a job. Stories of fixing what could be fixed and honoring what couldn't. Stories of humanity, fragile and temporary, and absolutely refusing to surrender to the dark. The ship sailed on through the night, carrying its precious cargo toward tomorrow. Behind them lay grief and growth. Ahead lay challenge and chance. And in the space between, 3 humans held tight to each other and chose to believe that building something new from broken pieces was not just possible, but necessary. Not just healing, but heroic. This was their story. This was humanity's story. And it would continue, one midnight shift at a time, one fixed machine at a time, one saved life at a time, until the stars themselves burned out and still humans would be there, creating light in the darkness, finding families among strangers, and proving that in a universe that didn't care, caring was the greatest rebellion of all.